Okay, we're live with another episode of the LogiCast. My name is BlankaKong. I'm joined by Gunner Eos, Mr. Esoteric. Sorry, he's
False advertisement.
he's he's at a wedding or something. So there's that. But I do have Zeta Kaiser and How to Wolf with me today, and today's topic is going to be one that I'm not too versed in, but I do have three experts with decades of experience in the topic, and that is turn-based combat being kind of phased out of uh, JRPGs or RPGs in general. There was an article released a few weeks ago about the Final Fantasy 16 combat being more action-based, and the producer in that article had mentioned that turn-based combat just isn't a desirable feature anymore. And so I figured we could talk about it and talk about it in a more general sense. It doesn't have to be about the article, but I thought the article would be interesting bring up, and that article will be linked in the description if in case you want to read it. So, with that being said, I'm not a fan of turn-based combat per se, but I have played games with turn-based combat and have enjoyed those games. Main one being Pokemon. So I'm familiar with it, but I don't know. I'm not a big RPG guy, so maybe you guys can shed some light on it and tell me about it. So, uh, whoever wants to go first and talk about it, floor is yours.
Okay, I'll go first. Um, so I'm kind of like torn here. At one point, there are some action RPGs that I do enjoy. If we're gonna relate it to the Final Fantasy realm, I actually really enjoyed, and this is kind of relevant because this game is also getting remade soon. Is Crisis Core, which is the prequel to Final Fantasy VII. That was kind of an action RPG. Not kind of. That is an action RPG, but it still had some turn-taking elements, kind of like the Kingdom Hearts series, more like Kingdom Hearts 1, where you can move Zack pretty much where you wanted in the combat field, and it was X to swing his sword, and he would do a three-hit combo. But if you wanted to cast offensive magic, heal yourself, or use summons or any other materia. In Seven's case, that was done via turn taking. So your bar would charge up, and you would be allowed to do like one magic spell or summon one creature. So it was still kind of like hybrid turn taking, hybrid strategy, typical uh, turn based RPG system. So, but now most games are now pretty much all action RPGs. It really kind of hit a, kind of came to an head in Final Fantasy 15. I'm not going to count 14 because 14 is an MMO, and I usually, not everybody plays 14 or MMOs, so I leave that in its own separate category. So if we're talking about offline, mainline Final Fantasies, 15 kind of did that. There was no turn taking. It was you do your actions, you have your action command, full action RPG. Now, I'm an old head when it comes to RPGs, so I'm kind of like old man shaking his hand at, shaking his fist at cloud. I don't like really action RPGs. I feel like they dumb down the RPG experience. It reduces or removes the planning, the thinking, the you know the how am I going to play this? Is he going to do is this monster going to do this big attack next turn? Should I be defending? Should I be buffing defense, or should I be going all out attack to try to kill him? Right. There's something about turn taking games where you have to memorize, not necessarily memorize the patterns, but how can I put this? Kind of recognize the strategy that these bosses have because you don't see them doing it. Unlike an action RPG where you can see a boss monster raise his hand in the air and you know he's gonna drop a ball of energy on you. When it comes to an RPG, you can't a strategy RPG, not strategy, a turn taking RPG, you can't do that. You kind of have to know like, okay, on every fifth turn, he does his big AoE attack. So you have to you had in your head, you have to keep track of every fifth turn to know when the boss is going to do that and properly prepare. So I kind of miss that. You don't get that with action RPGs. I know they've tried it with the 7 remake, but it just doesn't translate well because everything's in real time. So you can't really have those surprise mechanics. So personally, I still love turn taking RPGs, but I do understand, like the article mentioned, how they don't really jive well with modern gaming. Like, as the graphics evolve from from sprites of Final Fantasy 1 to 6 era to block polygon arms of 7 8 to slightly better polygons in 9 to the HD games from 10 and up that we know, it gets harder to justify why this soldier with a gun is standing there looking at another enemy and has to take a bullet to the chest and then wait for his turn to shoot back. Like, I get that. If I describe that to someone who doesn't play old school RPGs, I know the first thing they would say is that's pretty fucking stupid. And I was like, I guess, but it's not about how it flows in the world. It's about the type of game it is. It's a turn taking RPG. It's a strategy RPG. It's an action RPG. They all have their different styles, and I feel you know, if you can't suspend disbelief for a little bit, then yeah, every RPG is going to turn into an action RPG, right? Everything's going to be super stylized and flow better, combat oriented. And some people love that. And hey, look, I'd be a liar if I said I didn't enjoy certain action RPGs myself, but I think there's something special about strategy RPGs that you can you can present gameplay that you can't present in an action RPG, and an action RPG cannot simulate the kind of suspense and strategy and tactics that you have to employ when the game is slowed down. So that was a big ass rant. Pretty much, I love me some turn taking RPGs. Now, like most games, I kind of look away from the big boys, the AAA boys, and I kind of look towards the indie guys because the indie guys are giving me what I want. So it's just, like most gaming in my adult life, it's kind of shifted towards big budget to smaller scale, but the smaller scale gives me what I want. So that before I rant anymore, I'll pass it to either Mr. Wolf or Mr. Kaiser.
Go on, Kaiser.
All right, I'll go. Well, I'm same thing as you. I'm just boomer man who wants his boomer things. I like my turn-based RPGs more so than the action RPGs because what eventually ends up happening is the action RPGs kind of cater to the simple gamer who just wants to do things and it look cool, and that tends to not take too much effort. It's usually a very basic combo or very basic things, or uh, do they have freaking quick time events in 7? Because I refuse to play that one, so I don't know.
Not
Mhm.
not quick time events per se, kind of like Kingdom Hearts 3,
Yeah,
where
not to
it's
that extreme where it's
no,
like
but
literally the entire thing, but like, did they have like stuff like that at all?
not not from what I played, which was the first little bit of the game.
Oh,
No,
okay, so it's not an issue for that one, but that tends to be an issue is that they'll rely heavily on quick time events to make things more flashy.
oh, Kingdom Hearts 3 100% did that. You can play most of the game pressing triangle. I shit you not.
Yeah, and I really don't care for that. Like the most, all right. Well, before that, the my problem with that, I guess the article or the thing itself is that I feel like this is an issue of chasing realism in something that is supposed to be a game and trying to justify why one thing doesn't make sense over another. Like how you just said, like how somebody's going to think it's stupid that this guy is sitting here with a gun waiting his turn. But by that same logic, why do I have a sword trying to chase down somebody who has a gun? Why am I not why am I not dying in one hit? Like this has been the biggest thing that annoys me, but I accept it. So like for Final Fantasy 8, you're clearly being shot at by other, I don't remember who the other enemies are, but you're being shot at by those other people. And when you get into a battle, they shoot at you. But there is a cutscene where Squall gets shot at, and he's out of commission for a while. So for that cutscene, guns work the way they work in normal life, but for battle, it doesn't. And it is like that for every game that has guns in it. And I don't understand why we do that. Like, why do we try to add realism in something that should not have it? Like, we are in a fantasy world, we're shooting magic, guns should just be a part of it, and it's just like, yeah, I can eat bullets. Because
Literally
once you
in the
start,
title.
yeah, like once you start doing these things, like more questions opens up, and it just becomes unnecessarily convoluted that it than it needs to be. And I feel like it is just better to be one thing. Like, we are a fantasy game. Yes, we stand here, we take our turns, or we are not a fantasy game, but or we're not a turn taking game, I should say, but we're still fantasy, because once people are doing things that if I equated it to real life, that wouldn't make sense. And that bothers me like a lot. Like, I rather you just stick to what your theme is. Like, this person just happens to use guns. This person happens to not use guns, but don't use the, oh well, this doesn't make sense anymore because it's not realistic. Why would these people do that? Because a lot of questions come into play as to why this doesn't work. Then if that's the what you're going to argue, but yeah. Besides that, the only real action game, and even then that's died down, has been the Tales game. Like, that has been like the only like action RPG I've liked the most, more than others, because usually it's still like pseudo turn taking, because like you would have your mages in the back, because they would still have to take their time to cast a spell, especially the big spells. So you could strategize that way. So you would have like your heavy hitters or just your comboers in the front doing stuff. You switch over to the mages, have them cast a spell, have them freaking healing people. So it's still a strategy in there. There's still turn taking, but most stuff now is not really like that. It's more like you just control one person, like 14. No, it's for 15. I keep messing that up. I think they changed it later on, but like Noctis, you could only control Noctis, and you kind
In
of
the
just told the other
yeah,
people
yeah,
to do
before
things.
updates.
Yeah, before updates. So I know people will say, "Oh, updates changed that." I don't care. I didn't play the updates. I played it when it came out.
Yeah, no, we're talking about 1.015.
Yeah, and when I played that, Noctis had to do everything, and everybody else was just kind of suggestions, and you would call them, or you would use I forgot what the bar was, and then they'll use a special skill. But I had no actual control over them, and I couldn't form a real strategy. I just had to hope that they would comply when I asked them to do something. The same thing for Versus 13, the Agro kids. I think it was the same way. You only controlled one person, and everybody else was kind of suggest. You think you could switch at least with that one, but
I didn't play that one that much, even though it got ported over to modern consoles or
yeah,
PlayStation 4.
I have it on PS3, but I don't really remember off the top of my head
But
if it was the same. But
it
either
did,
way,
yeah, it did
th-
start. The article does state that it kind of started with 10 was kind of like the last traditional turn-taking game, and
yeah,
then from 12 onwards, they've kind of started being more action-oriented and leaving some of the turn-taking behind to where we are now with 16 on the horizon.
yeah, yeah. But I feel like that's just I don't know. I feel like it's a cop out because 10 is a different style. Like, it's still turn taking, but there's more in it than just oh, we're just sitting here taking turns. Like, you had moves and abilities that would either make people go faster or knock the enemy's turn back. Like, you had manipulation, so you could build a strategy around something. So like how you said that, oh, this boss is going to do this strong attack. I know that that is coming because the boss has made the queue. I see where his turn is on the bar, and if I play my cards right, I will use the person who can delay the boss to screw him over and push him back so that he doesn't do that. So I have more chance to prepare in
Yeah.
case I was playing fast and loose and I need to heal up to recover. You don't really get that with the action RPGs. Like, it's more like something will happen and it's because the cutscene says it happens, or you could just combo them to hell and any real threat that would have been there is not there anymore because the boss doesn't move. Like, the boss literally just does not do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, it hammers home that some bosses in RPGs, which they are kind of sponges or sword sponges in this case instead of bullet sponges, and
Yeah.
it's harder. It's covered up better, I should say, in a turn taking game But when it's an action game, it's like, God bless, I've been wailing on this fucking guy for 20 minutes and she's
Still
not
not
getting.
dead.
Yeah, it's hard. It's to me that breaks more of the illusion than the turn taking
Yeah, and
aspect.
it's less memorable because like there are certain things that bosses do in turn taking RPGs that you know is like, oh shit, and now you know, now you're in a panic because like, all right, now what the hell do I do? Like it's pseudo turn taking, but like our good sir over here, Mr. Kong, when he first fought Malboro, like if this was an action RPG, he wouldn't have had that problem because the boss probably would have been getting juggled and he would have never seen bad breath for the first time. But
Right.
For
Could have
sure.
just
because it
dodged behind him.
yeah, or that, just hide behind this pillar because the everybody's going to tell you like, oh, he's doing something, go hide. But because it was pseudo turn taking in 11, he has like, ah shit. Well, at first he didn't know what it was, but if he
And
did know, he would have said, oh shit. But he would have been like, ah shit, now I have this, and now I need to cure my blindness. I need to get rid of this poison. He's like, now the tables have turned on him. He's like, I was in control, and now I've lost everything. Fuck, what do I do? It's just something that's not there when it's like I said, when it's an action RPG, because usually what ends up happening, there's a break mechanic, you can juggle them, yada yada yada, and then like I said, unless it's a cutscene that forces like an interaction or the boss to do something, you just don't get anything out of it.
yeah, like literally in 7, you had to fight the summons in order to get them.
Yeah.
Stupid, I know, but whatever. Um, and it would literally just show a cutscene when Ifrit was doing Hellfire. So it's like, oh, okay, Hellfire, because now I can't control my character, and Ifrit lifting his hands into the air, and it's whole big cinematic cutscene. Whereas in 7, you didn't know when Ifrit was going to. Well, 7, you didn't fight summons. In 8, I'll use 8 because in 8 you did fight your summons. In 8, it was the same thing. You fought summons to acquire them, but you didn't know when Ifrit was going to do Hellfire. You just know that once I drop him to 50%, which I don't know unless I'm using scan, I don't know what his HP is. I know at this range he can do Hellfire. And if I'm fucking around and like leaving my HP low so I could purposely attack more, he might do Hellfire at a bad turn and just one shot my party because I didn't stop to heal. That's what a turn taking RPG gives you, as opposed to an action RPG where you know it's coming because they literally stop the gameplay to show you that it's coming.
Speaking of, before I give it over to Mr. Wolf, did did the Scorpion shoot the laser as a cutscene, or like how did that work for
Pretty
7?
pretty much when the Scorpion did his tail up, it was a cutscene. So you saw the gameplay stopped, it
Oh,
showed the camera went to the Scorpion and it went its tail up, and Barrett was like, oh my god, he's doing something crazy, and then literally rocks, I shit you not, rocks kind of like 14 style, fell mysteriously from the top of the arena down onto the battleground. And you had to hide behind the rocks. So when he did his tail laser, he would hit the rock instead of you. They literally turned it into an MMO
it's a
fight.
raid mechanic.
Yeah, it's a raid mechanic from 14. As an avid or ex avid 14 player, I was like, this is just a raid. I've seen this before. So again, in original 7, good thing you bring that. In original 7, when he put his tail up, Barrett did say something, text, because we didn't have voice acting. He was like, what the heck is that? That's suspicious. And if you hit it, that was on you. But
It was
now it's just like, he's doing something big. Maybe I should hide behind this rock that only shows up during this attack.
yeah, as opposed to what it was before, where he would like you would hit him and he would immediately counter with a laser, and you were like,
Right.
huh,
And then you did Cloud's dead on the floor, and you go, maybe I don't hit him with his tails up.
yeah. There's literally that because you would wait, you just sit there and wait. And he's like, all right, and then he would put his tail back down, and then you
Yep.
go back to fight attacking him again.
That was all a cutscene and a
Yes.
typical raid mechanic for 14.
Yeah, it's like it's I guess the word is nuance. It's like it's nuances like that that are gone when it's an action RPG because it's just beat the thing up and or watch cutscene.
Yeah.
It's like I don't dislike all of them. I don't want to make it seem like I don't play some of them, but a large part of what I like about the RPG is gone when it's just an action RPG.
They can't surprise you anymore. They can't spring something on you.
Yeah,
Everything's
'cause
choreographed.
when
Set
it's
up in
sprung on me, it's usually a cutscene.
right, right.
All right, I'm done.
Yeah, we get
Okay.
we'll hear Mr. Hotto Wolf's words and opinions on the matter.
Do it. Be the contrarian. Say we're wrong.
That's the problem. I can't because I'm not that type of person. So it's like
Do it for
if I
content.
if I agree with it, I agree with it. If I don't, I don't. And to be honest, I guess I'm okay with both to an extent. It all depends on what I'm playing or what is my expectation out of the RPG that I am playing. But I definitely agree with you guys where there is a certain build up that the turn base gives you that the action RPG won't give you. But I also feel like action RPGs do allow some sense of freedom. Like I like the Xenoblade series, right? I played Chronicles and I played 2 and I'm trying to play 3.
That like is wavering.
Yeah. So with 2 and 1, it's action. Well, 1 is more like action turn bars because all your skills have cooldowns on them and you have to let it, reload. You have to let the timer go for, Shulk and his team to do the next attack. Um, and then Xenoblade 2 is based on your auto hits. So based on the move you're trying to recharge your auto hits will for every auto hit you make, it will add to the bar for you to do one of your special moves. And for whatever reason they thought it was a good idea to combine both mechanics in 3. So yeah. What I do like about the Xenoblade as action RPGs go is that I can just run away. Like there is no escape item. There is no press run. Oh, you couldn't escape. There isn't, like, oh, you have to wait your turn before you can run, or the character that you did select to run, the boss or the enemy killed, so you can't run. Now you gotta go to the next character that can run.
Or they
That's how
fail.
brave or they fail. That's how Bravely Default does it. Um, so like you have that option of like, okay, well, me playing those games, like right now, a part of my frustration with 3 was Xeno 3 is that I'm trying to fight. The game does not reward you for fighting enemies that is your level or lower. It only rewards you for fighting enemies that's slightly stronger or much stronger. So obviously, those are the enemies I'm going to target. If I'm level 20, I'm not going to fight a level 20 enemy. I'm going to fight a level 22, level 23 enemy. And sometimes I find my ass getting handed to me because these enemies turn out to be a little bit more than what my characters can do, which is another thing that I can talk about, but whatever. So what I do, I turn whatever characters I'm controlling at the moment, I turn them around and run my ass off. There you go. I escape. And then from there, all the everybody else on my team will revive or will auto revive and join me back again. That's one major advantage I think that action RPGs have is that it allows you to move around the field or that allows you to go in and out of the battle at will. So
Yeah.
people can better pace themselves instead of getting trapped fighting a behemoth that you are just not prepared for and you cannot run away because he's 5 or 10 levels above you.
That's
So,
true.
right.
I would before you
Mhm.
continue, I would like to throw in because I just remembered when you said that is there is a slight issue with that, but that can just depend on your luck as a person or the game. It's like I tell it all the time with Noctis and his stupid party where I fell down a hole, and because it's realistic, they had to run to me and they couldn't find
Oh,
me.
yeah.
Right. That's definitely dependent on the game because with Xenoblade, the characters will the Xenoblade kind of breaks that logic a bit.
Yeah, it's
Like a
not trying to
character
go
can
extreme
be
realistic.
right. Like I can be on a cliff attacking an enemy that's all the way down below me. Some characters would be on the cliff with me. Some of the characters would go down the cliff to fight the enemies. But either way, the fight is going. So it doesn't. That's where Xenoblade kind of takes away the quote unquote realism
Yeah.
in action RPGs. But then if you look at even like say the last major Tales game I played was like I really sat down and sucked my teeth into was one of the PS. That's really bad. Now it's a PSP Tales of
Arts.
Hearts. There we go. Tales of Hearts. And in the Tales games, it is an action RPG, but they put you on a flat arena for you to actually run around on. So if you're gonna run away in any Tales game, it's really you literally run your character to the edge of the battlefield until you see the little run bar start to
And someone who
build
played the
up.
latest one, it's the same. Still the same.
Okay, all right. So yeah, and you can escape that way, right? But my point is that the problem was one major issue that a turn-based RPG can present to you is that you get stuck in battle and people don't like losing. And if you lose because you just couldn't escape, then it's a bit more frustrating because it's not like you didn't consciously realize you're out of place and you need to regroup. Whereas an action RPG does allow that. I do definitely agree that one of the biggest issues that I have with action RPGs is you don't control everyone, and I love control. It's one of the reasons why I didn't really like Persona 3, which is a turn-based game, the original Persona 3, but I
Yeah.
prefer the remake to Persona 3 because it doesn't make sense to me that it's a turn-based game and I have to watch 3 other AI choose freaking
Died.
wind when my character is on 1 HP and she should be healing. Like it just didn't make sense. Like it just brought so much frustration to me.
It
But
also doesn't help that if your main character dies, nobody will revive you and you'll automatically lose.
right. And then if the main character dies, right, it's a auto game over. Um that was a turn-based thing that Persona 3 did, and then when they came out with the remake to Persona 3, they fixed it where you can control everyone, which is what I like. And turn-based RPGs typically allow you to control the whole team on their turn. So I feel like I can plan my next attacks better, or I can keep my party alive better, or if I have to go into defense for a certain amount of time, I can. Um, to me it just brings this new not new but it brings a different dynamic of like, okay, well, I can better pace myself in this fight, whereas an action RPG, if it's just one character you're controlling, okay, fine, most likely you'll evade or you'll run or you'll run around the field until you can gather exactly what to do. If it's multiple people you're controlling, like say current Tales games, um the Xeno games, them idiots will do whatever the fuck they want to do sometimes and it doesn't make sense and that costs you, right? And that annoys me because like right now I'm playing Tales 3, Xeno 3. Xeno 3 is 6 characters on the field. 2 and Chronicles with Shulk did not give you 6 people to play with at the same time. Well,
Wasn't
I
like
know
3 and 4.
it was 3 for 2 and you switch between your blades. And for Chronicles, it was also 3, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Gunnar. I believe it was 3. I don't
Yes,
remember.
it was 3, and you had 6 in total, and you had to
Right.
choose between 3 at
Yours
any one
3.
time.
Right. Okay. So with Xeno 2 for me, well, that's my favorite of the 3. So that's the one I know the best. I'm able to switch between my healer, quote unquote healer, um, my tank and my DPS for them to do what I need them to do. I have 6 of these clowns now. 6 of them. And half the time, they act well before I can get to them. Because it's not like there's a button or there's an option where I can. So to switch between characters, guys, well, Gunna would know, but for the two that don't know, you have to hold the back button and then you literally have to scroll in a order. So it'll be like BlankaKong, Zeta, Gunner, Huddle Wolf. Oh shoot, I want to go back to Zeta. then I have to go either BlankaKong Zeta or I have to go Gunner Zeta. That means that I have to constantly like it's like there's no like quick character select.
Yeah.
Like it would have made more sense if a radial popped up, like how Monster Hunter does it, and you can just like move your cursor to the character you want to control, and you just take control of them there. So now that there's a list that I have to forcefully go through each character, by the time I get to say the evasion tank, which she don't evade for shit. By the time I get to her, sometimes depending on who I'm controlling, she would have already done a move, hopefully, and I have to hope it's the evasion move that I want her to do to continue to tank. Or if I have to go to one of my DPS characters, I have to hope that I get to them in time for me to choose the DPS move that I want to look, assuming on how far I am on the list or how close I am to them on the list. And it gets frustrating that way. It gets really frustrating that way because by the time I get to the tank would have done something else. And it's just like, well, that's not the move I needed. I needed you to topple the enemy. I didn't need you to bring more aggro. You already have aggro. Why did the AI choose an aggro move? Why didn't the AI topple the monster? Mm, mm, they, mm.
So can
See?
I ask before you start yelling at the game more?
Hmm.
Because like in because it's the only one I could think of because everything else changed. In Vesperia, for Tales of Vesperia, you had certain moves you could put on like the D-pad, or you can basically shortcut them.
I
Does it
wish
not
you
have?
could do that.
Okay, never mind.
If
I was
it
gonna
if it
say if there was a
can,
way to do that.
right. If it can, I haven't unlocked that feature yet. If
Okay.
it can.
Yeah, because
But
you could shortcut other people's moves on your thing to have them do it when you push it. To have like
yeah,
a form of
most Tales
synergy.
games are like that, right? A lot of
Yeah.
there are Tales games like that because Abyss is like that as well. I can shortcut another person's attack. So a lot of times I would have like a healer on shortcut because it's like, well, if I need to heal, I can get them going with that real quick.
Yeah, instead of
Um,
cycling to them like you would have to
right.
normally. Like,
The Xeno series do not offer that. So it becomes you better hope and pray that the healer chooses to heal and not give you an attack buff. You better freaking hope that the healer is going to heal if you can't get to the healer in time. And again, this is only an issue that I'm having with 3, specifically because they lengthen the amount of characters you can use per battle. I don't recall having that issue with Chronicles, and I don't recall, and I know for sure I didn't have that issue with Xeno 2. But Xeno 3, that's one of the things that's just like I can't with this right now. And that's because it's an action RPG. I think it's because there is no turn-based factor to it. So I have to get to that healer in time, or I have to take over the tank in time. And I think that's one of the issues that action RPGs, if it's a group of characters you're using, can present to you. If it's one like you're playing Kingdom Hearts, you're using Sora, you're not really Sora used to switch between Goofy and Donald, but again, that's still only 3 characters, not 6 or sometimes 7, if you have a somebody helping your team. So it presents 2 different, like that's the issue that I have with real time RPGs, and that's what some of them is giving me right now, like but at the same time, like I said, I can't say I hate, not hate, but prefer action turn-based RPGs over action RPGs. I think they both have their ups and downs. um I think it all just depends on, it's going to boil down to the patience of the person, right? Because Pokemon is such a big phenomenon game, but it's turn-based. So why is Pokemon accepted by a lot of gamers being a turn-based game, but not being, but say Final Fantasy is not accepted being a turn-based game? It I don't really get it.
If we go to that article, they'll say because Pikachu doesn't look like a real electric rat. I I don't think that's a solid enough argument.
That's not a solid enough argument for me. I think if you call yourself a game designer, if game designing is what you do, then a part of game designing or a part of designing that product is this is what it is, and this is how you're going to make it work across the board. So if you set up the expectation that Final Fantasy is a turn-based RPG, and that's how it's going to be for main series Final Fantasy games, then you know that would be my expectation as someone who plays Final Fantasy games, that the next one, 17, 18, 19, is going to be a turn-based RPG. Of course, times change. People are now putting in their inputs. They're listening to, gamers that are new to the franchise. They're listening to gamers that's old to the franchise. They're listening to gamers that's just tired of the franchise, probably. You know, so things will change, but I think they listen to not li- I let me retract that. I think they're just going with a more free flow battle system because they want it to probably keep up with other video games that they see is doing well, maybe. But I'm okay with Final Fantasy being turn based. It's what I grew up on, so I don't see why it needs to. I see why they would change, but I don't agree with the change.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like I see it and I recognize it, and I guess I got to look somewhere else to get my turn-based RPG gameplay. And luckily, like I said before, with indie games and I guess double A publishers instead of triple A publishers, those guys give me what I want. Like I'll get a game that's turn-based. So it's just like, okay, well, maybe 16 or Final Fantasy or Tales of just isn't for me anymore. But I got this little RPG made by a small team that gives me exactly what I want. Here you go. You guys get my $40 and I get a solid game.
Well, yeah, it's your approach to it makes a lot of sense, right? If store A doesn't give you the products that you're looking for, you're gonna go to store B. It was like like when you go, say you were the type of person that go to restaurants often, right? If you went to this one steakhouse and you were going there because you love the customer service and the food is great, and then all of a sudden you started going there, the customer service is no longer good, but the food is still considered top quality. Are you gonna really keep going and deal with rude people or a staff that isn't going to accommodate you as a customer, even though the food there is considered top quality? Or can you go to this mom and pop restaurant, that's little diner on the side where it's a little more homely. It's not as fancy or as noticed as others, but the food is still good, but you're getting better service because the workers there is actually thinking of what you really want. So
Right.
it that's what it boils down to. It's like you got to go with where you gonna get what you want. You can't just. I don't understand people who buy AAA games because it's AAA, like because it's the whole thing that everybody is playing right now. That whole FOMO nonsense to me is just, it just doesn't. I don't think it should. I It doesn't logically apply to me when it
I
comes
mean,
to
you're not a
video games.
follower.
It just doesn't logically apply to me. Like it's like, well, I mean, sure, like I said in the previous podcast, the characters in Final Fantasy VII Remake are beautiful. Oh my gosh, they are renderedly beautiful. It's graphically strong. The gameplay looks flashy, but when you really dive into it, when you really get into the depth of the game, what are you really getting? Is it like something that is worth constantly buying parts, $65, and like it's what, three
I
or
mean,
four parts now, and it's sixty
God
five
only
dollars per
knows.
part? Right. It's like so many, like they're charging you a full game price for parts of one game. right? It's like it doesn't make sense. Like, why are we playing this?
Why didn't buy
You know, but yeah, I think it all just depends on the patience of the person. Like, I love Pokemon. Pokemon for me is life. They failed as of recently, but it's still life because I love the franchise. Um, and I know the next one coming is probably not going to be any good, but I'm okay with the turn-based gameplay. I'm a-okay with it. At the same time, I do like the Xeno series, and I think with 3, I just have to get over the hurdles that I'm dealing with now for me to really appreciate the game. But at the end of the day, Xeno 3 is still one of the better RPGs I've played recently. And they're
Yeah.
both two different types of games, two different types of RPGs.
Yeah, I mean that was a very interesting point you made about the whole running away mechanic, because I can tell you in Pokemon older RPGs, I'm
Mhm.
I got one guy dead, I got another guy half health, the other chick's out of magic, so I can't res and heal. I'm out of items, and it's just like the save point's right there. Just let me get there, and I get into 5 battles trying to get there, and I end up getting killed.
Mhm.
Pokemon had a remedy for it with the repels, but to my knowledge, and as many RPG games, traditional, I guess turn taking, traditional, as I've played, Pokemon was the only game off the top of my head that had an answer to kind of toning down the random encounter mechanic if you were in a bad situation or you just wanted to get somewhere. No other
That
RPG had that.
mhm. So Pokemon, yes and no for Pokemon. Pokemon did it when it came to the wild battle system. So if it was a wild Pokemon, you had items to control, and if your Pokemon were over leveled for the area, the likeliness of you being able to escape from running is basically 100%. Trainer battles, on the other hand,
You ain't going nowhere.
you're not going anywhere. And I can tell you, in the third game, Ruby Sapphire, is when they started introducing trainers that hide in the grass or underground
In the snow,
or in the
in the
snow.
desert.
Yes. And I can tell you, I've been there where I've had to reset my game because I get into a fight with some clown that poisoned my Pokemon, and I'm running to them. I'm trying to get to the Pokemon Center, and boom, little kid ninja Naruto decides to jump out of the grass and like, hey, fight me, motherfucker. Great. I'm
No way.
stuck here. This is like, though it's Pokemon did remedy it for wild battles, but trainer battles was something that still you till this day you still cannot run away from trainer battles.
Nope.
That is
So
true.
You
yeah,
just have to win.
so, that's definitely a big issue for me. It's like Jesus, and I hope they fix that for the next one. I hope they give the ability to say, "I will take my Zenny or my Poke Dollars, just take it and allow me to run away from this fight because I don't feel like dealing with this." You know,
Yeah, because sometimes it's not life threatening or poke
Mm-mm.
threatening. Sometimes just like, bro, I
I
want to
just
do
want to do it.
something. I'm raising
Yeah,
Pokemon, so I'm moving back and forth between areas. I don't have time for you right now.
yeah. And games like Pokemon, that I'll play right before I go to bed. So it being a turn-based game, it puts me to sleep a little bit faster because it's slower tempoed.
Right.
And I'm tired and I just want to get to the location I want to get to and save my game. Even though I know I can save right there on the spot and just turn the game off. But when you set yourself a goal in a video game, you just want to get that goal done before you put the game down.
Yeah.
But you
Um
also don't want to forget because you're like, where the hell was I going now? Oh yeah.
exactly. Right. And you just want to get to that town and then you run into this trainer that was hiding behind a rock and he comes out and it's like, oh God, fuck. like now I have to struggle through this fight because I'm tired. I didn't want to fight it. And yes, ideally speaking, I could have just saved right then and there, leave my character right then and there, turn the system off, go to bed. But any real gamer, especially if you play RPGs, any real gamer, if you set yourself on a goal for your game, any real gamer tries to get it done before they turn that game off again, because that was the whole purpose of you loading the game to begin with.
Yeah.
You know, so it has its ups and downs, definitely. You know, um, do you guys have any other well, as far as you guys being old heads preferring turn-based RPGs, do you feel like action RPGs is just going to just take over and that's it, no more? Because eventually these indie games that Gunna likes to play so much is gonna follow suit eventually.
Um,
I don't think so, at least because I've talked about this in a previous podcast about how I think that indie games are the future because they cater to an audience and not a theme that the main industry wants. Because this has been a thing not since for as long as I can remember. It's always been, oh, we need to be realistic, we need to be realistic, and we've given up style and I don't want to say purpose, but it's the only word I can think of. But it's over making something that like people actually want. It's instead like, no, we want you to have this. Like, I don't really want this. Too bad. We're giving you this. Because
Mm,
like I said before, like the whole problem with the action RPG games is that it becomes a very it's like how you make fun of the Dynasty Warriors games. Like eventually that's what's going to have to be because you're going to have to beat the least common denominator, and that is people who are like, I'm not good at this game, and I want it to be easier. Here is cinematic mode, so all you have to do is this, and you could just enjoy the story and not play anything. That'll get sales, but that's not it's not sustainable. Like you can't keep doing that because it'll sell, then they'll be in Mr. Kong's store with like 30 copies, and
yeah.
the next set of people are probably not going to buy it because they'll be like, what am I buying this for? Eventually, that's what will happen. They'll be like, why am I buying this? As opposed to the indie games, which come out of nowhere and make all this money, and the industry can't understand why when it's like it has less graphics, it has uh less of these bloated mechanics, but everybody's loving it, and I just can't understand. And it's because there's a purpose, there's a theme, there's a style, there's all these things that what gamers want that they're giving up for being
Hmm.
realistic and having more action, which is realistically just very vague. Because like I can have a lot of action in a slow paced game.
I mean, I don't understand the whole idea behind the realism aspect of it. You have a dude who has a machine gun for a fucking arm that's shooting through dragons and witches and other clones of people and all that other stuff. You have another one who's carrying around a big ass sword that's I mean, it's a pretty big mass of metal. And to for someone who's as thin as he is in terms of muscular build, I would find that to be a little hard to lift. And then you have a chick who can sky uppercut Ifrit. I don't I don't understand. Like if you're gonna go realism, then give me a fucking slice of life anime, action RPG anime or something. Like, or give me an action RPG with you're playing as a black belt who has to run around this big ass map, going to
just
different dojos to fight
just give
people.
me Call of Duty with an HP bar.
All right, or give me Call of Duty. Not even an HP bar. Give me Call of Duty where you're running around with one HP,
Right,
because
right.
one bullet you're out. It's like
I have my Kevlar on, sir. I'm fine.
okay, 2 HP. It's like we're in war. Like it doesn't really matter how much Kevlar you have on. You're gonna die. Like it doesn't like the whole realism aspect of it is like, okay, well, we're gonna be realistic and make it action RPG. That isn't really realistic to me because the chick just uppercut a big ass dragon. Didn't is no one taking note to this? She like
It's just
she
normal.
oh, but that's realistic. It's like it just doesn't make sense.
Well,
Uh,
I've always argued that I don't like the realism theme period because I don't want to play a game of people who just look like people out on the street. That's not what I'm interested in. I want to look at somebody and be like, hey, that is this character from X.
Yeah, you
And
want to use your imagination.
yeah, and you wasn't there. It was just me, Kong, and Gunner, where I was just like, can you name the last character that like came out from a game, and you like, oh yeah, I know that character. Like, when was the last time somebody came out that like had a distinct look, and you could be like, I know that person or that character. Like, it really hasn't been anything as far as the AAA stuff is concerned. There's plenty of stuff in the indie stuff, like the Hades guys is everywhere, the Helltaker guy is everywhere, because these are characters with a certain look and a style that you look at them and you go, I know where you are from and what that game is.
Mm-hmm.
That just does not translate with the AAA space. Like, the most we could say is like, oh, I know freaking Alloy or freaking uh
Last of Us, yeah.
yeah. I was about to call her Ellen. I'm like, wait, no, that's the talk show host.
God, the same difference.
Yeah, but it's just like it's not. But if even then, if you looked at them, you'd just be like, oh, that's just another white woman, I guess.
Like, hey, that's a chick I saw getting coffee the other day.
Yeah,
3
exactly.
days, 3 days in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
like what would Link be if he was just a normal? He would be just a blonde haired guy. If it wasn't
Yeah, I
for his
mean,
distinct look and his tunic, otherwise he would like if you took out all that, he's just a guy with blonde hair and blue eyes.
yeah, and I can't even say long ears because in that world, everyone has long ears.
Yeah.
Unless you're a Goron or a Zora or whatever race that particular Zelda game has other than Hylians.
true.
But I'll just answer Dev's Wolf's government names. Who fucking?
Oh,
I'll
God, he's doxing.
I'll answer Wolf's question before we wrap it up because I think we've been at it for a bit. I don't think turn taking is going to disappear. It is definitely will be the minority. It will not be the majority anymore. I think we've passed that point where the majority have spoken and they want action RPGs, right? We talk about money talking, I guess the money's talking. Okay, so but AAA action oriented RPGs are kind of the norm now. So that's I recognize that and I'm comfortable with that. But even from AAA games, not indies, but AAA, you see kind of standouts that kind of bring back the old school turn taking RPGs. Two examples are Octopath Traveler and Triangle Strategy. Octopath Traveler, Triangle Strategy, both gorgeous looking, sprite based turn taking RPGs. And especially, I'm going to highlight Triangle Strategy because, much like Octopath Traveler, Triangle Strategy is a brand new IP, which is a rare thing nowadays in the AAA gaming space. So it's brand new characters, brand new world, brand new story and conflict. And I know, anybody listening or reading is going to go, ho, that's not high. But the game sold 800,000 copies. And wow, that doesn't compare to GTA, Skyrim, Fallout, games of that ilk. For a brand new RPG, a single player experience, no DLC, of a supposed quote unquote dated gameplay style, the dated style being supposedly turn taking RPGs, it sold 800,000 copies in its first month. So that means there is an audience, there are people who are willing to drop down $65 to get that type of game. And all I hope is that the AAA developers kind of look at that and don't get. I know it's just like, and especially to this group, it's like, yeah, okay, keep dreaming. But like they can just see like, okay, we're not gonna make $1 billion, but we'll make money off of this market. There's still a desire there. So with games like Octopath and Triangle Strategy, there's still kind of hope. At least for me, I have a little bit of hope. But I do feel that action RPGs are the new standard, and we're gonna see a lot of RPGs kind of just go down that route for the foreseeable future.
Just a quick point. You also see like I know you compared it with Skyrim and stuff like that, but like even if it didn't sell as much, just think about like the cost by comparison that those
Yeah.
games took to something like the Triangle Strategy and Octopath Traveler. So it's like there's more than likely, well, Skyrim stuff's been out for a while, but like there's definitely a bigger return on investment by comparison
Right. I guess a better comparison would be 7 remake to Triangle Strategy.
there. Because like, Lord, let's not talk about Strangers of Paradise.
Well, I think the wallet spoke with that game.
Yeah. Or what was that other game? Babylon's Fall?
Oh, the wallets definitely spoke with that game. Babylon's
Yeah.
Fall, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah. Just throwing that out there, yeah.
Yeah, good points. Good points all around. Don't have much to add, quite frankly. I think there's still a space for these games. Obviously, Gunnar brought up the whole Octopath Traveler and its sales, and Triangle Strategy and its sales, and those games did pretty well for what those games cost to make. So the market's still out there. It's just not the dominant market anymore, and it's not the um, it's just it's not
Industry market
19.
either.
It's not 1995 anymore, right? So like that's not technology has advanced, and so you know the medium is going to advance along with it, unfortunately, or fortunately, depends on who you ask, right? So anyway,
Right.
with that being said, thank you guys for an interesting conversation. If anyone listening enjoyed this conversation, give it a like, drop a comment, let us know what you think about turn-taking RPGs. Subscribe for more content. We do podcasts every week. We publish on Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard. We also have 2-minute reviews on the channel. We also stream, so I stream under BlankaKong on Twitch. Follow me when I go live. I don't have a set schedule, so you've been warned. Mr. Esoteric, who isn't present, he streams on the main channel. He streams every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. So follow him. He's definitely worth following because he is online often. So definitely give him a follow and show him some love on his channel. We also have social media, so we run a Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We have a Discord. We also have a TikTok. All those links will be provided down below. So if you're interested in any of those platforms, just click down there and give us a like or a follow or whatever it is on said platform. I think that's everything. Guys, thank you so much. Have a good night. Catch you in the next one. Peace.
Bye.
Next time.